Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Martial Universe Season 8 Part 23 based on novel. So let's start. Majestic ocean light yuan power rumbled as it unfurled in the sky above unique Devil City. 10 advanced profound life stage experts had pushed their auras to the limit at this moment. These fluctuations caused the surrounding yuan power to show signs of boiling. Wave after wave of yuan power pressure spread outwards, causing many people in the city to have difficulty breathing. The entire city had become a little quiet because of the face-off in the sky. Soon after, countless rushing wind sounds suddenly appeared, as many black figures rushed up like locusts and landed on the various buildings within the city. Their eyes were excited as they watched this fearsome face-off in the sky. The Tao sect disciples, who had just came out from the teleportation formation, were startled by the lineup in front of them. However, they quickly calmed their minds and made sure to vigilantly keep watch on the Yuan Gate members. These people are indeed unwilling to let the matter rest. Ying Xiaoxiao commented in a deep voice. She involuntarily clenched her hand tightly upon seeing this scene. Lin Dong nodded slightly. His expression was relatively calm. It was likely that he had already expected that something like this would occur. Given the domineering manner of Yuan Gate in the past, it would not be so easy to let them drop the matter after having suddenly suffered such a painful loss. Qi Lei, your Tao sect is really bold to have actually done such an evil thing. Are you planning on starting a war between super sects? The 6 malicious-looking elders from the Yuan Gate direction watched Lin Dong sinisterly. An elder with greyish-white skin coldly cried out. Old Ghost Shadong, do not randomly pin a crime on someone. The Great Sect competition is not some children's game. It is a true life and death battle. It is naturally unavoidable for there to be some deaths and injuries. Qi Lei replied faintly. Some death and injuries? My Yuan Gate's 540 disciples were all killed by this little bastard. Can this still be called some death and injuries? The eyes of that elder who was called Shadong twitched rapidly as he suddenly shouted in anger. Old Ghost Shadong, you are after all one of the Yuan Gate section heads. You shouldn't be this intolerant. Do you think that only a few of my Tao sect disciples have died at the hands of your Yuan Gate disciples over the years? One's life and death during the Great Sect competition is left to the mandate of heaven. Whether one is victorious or defeated depends on one's individual ability. This time around, your Yuan Gate disciples' skills were inferior to others. Putting it bluntly, Chen Zhen's eyes were ice-cold as he stared at Shadong. They deserved to die? Chen Zhen's words caused several people to secretly grin. Looks like Tao sect had been tolerating Yuan Gate for a long time. Chen Zhen, what did you say? Those 6 Yuan Gate elders cried out sternly. They immediately became greatly furious after hearing these words. This old man does not mind uttering them again if you wish to hear those words a second time. Chen Zhen laughed coldly. Chen Zhen, we do not wish to argue with you. All of you should be clearly aware of how serious this matter is. We have already passed word of this back to Yuan Gate. The 3 great sect masters are furious because of this. I believe that this matter is perhaps not something that the 4 of you can resolve. Shadong suppressed the fury in his heart. His eyes swiftly darkened as he spoke. The expressions of Chen Zhen's group clearly changed slightly when they heard about the 3 great sect masters of Yuan Gate. The names of the 3 great sect masters were undoubtedly enough to cause many people in the eastern Xian region to tremble. Shadong, even if you bring out the 3 sect masters of the Yuan Gate, it will be useless today. The rules of the Great Sect competition were agreed upon by the 8 super sects. Why? Is your Yuan Gate planning on ignoring the rules now? Do you really think that your Yuan Gate is strong enough to ignore the other 7 super sects? Qi Lei spoke in a heavy voice. Qi Lei was clearly also an old and wily fox. His words had directly placed Yuan Gate on the opposing side of the 7 super sects. Although Yuan Gate was the strongest sect, it was clearly impossible for it to truly take on the other 7 by itself. Humph, Qi Lei, you should stop trying to find an excuse for that brat. Shadong's eyes were dark and sinister as he stared at Lin Dong and said, I have received word from the sect master to invite him back to Yuan Gate. Relax, nothing will happen to him. At that time, your Dao sect's Ying Xuanzi can take him back. If you wish to take Lin Dong away, you will have to ask if this old man agrees. Chen Zhen spoke in an indifferent manner. If your Yuan Gate really takes him away, what face will our Dao sect still have in this eastern Xian region? Qi Lei sneered and said, It looks like you people do not intend on cooperating. Shadong's expression was gloomy. Soon after, he mockingly said, although the four of you are also at the advanced profound life stage. Do you really think that you can stop the six of us? A cold light flashed across Qi Lei's eyes. He did not give in. Why don't you give it a try? Humph, you really wish to take the difficult route instead of the easy one. Shadong finally became a little impatient after seeing that Qi Lei was so unyielding. He spoke in a cold voice, in that case, don't blame us for being rude. I have said that I am only inviting Lin Dong to Yuan Gate for a chat under sect master's orders. Do you really think that we are fools? Chen Zhen ridiculed. If Lin Dong was to land in the hands of Yuan Gate, there was no guarantee just what kind of methods the latter would secretly use. At that time, it would not be an easy matter to demand Lin Dong back. Attack! Shadong's eyes suddenly became dark and cold. As he waved his sleeve downwards, a shout containing thick killing intent and impatience swiftly spread in the sky. Bang! Majestic Yuan power erupted from their bodies the moment Shadong's voice sounded. Immediately, their bodies shot towards Qi Lei's group. Dao sect disciples, withdraw. A grim look rose within Qi Lei's eyes when he saw this. After which, a low cry sounded. Majestic Yuan power surged and his body also rushed out. The Chen Zhen trio immediately followed behind him. Boom! Majestic Yuan power finally collided in the sky with a boom. Numerous frightening attacks that caused one's scalp to feel numb swiftly spread across the sky, as thunderous sounds boomed across the sky. Lin Dong, all of you leave first! Chen Zhen's cry sounded out while Yuan power rumbled and exploded across the sky. Lin Dong's eyes were a little solemn as he gazed upon the shocking battle in the sky. After musing a little, he nodded. Turning his head, he cried out in a low voice towards the Dao sect disciples, let's go. The ordinary disciples were unable to intervene in a battle at this level. Therefore, they would be of no use even if they remained behind. With the strength of Qi Lei's group, it was likely that even 6 advanced profound life stage experts would not be able to stop them if they wished to leave. Liu Tong, stop that brat! While Lin Dong was about to lead the others and withdraw, Shadong's stern cry also suddenly sounded from the sky. Soon after, a couple of figures rushed over from nearby and hovered a short distance in front of Lin Dong. It's you? Lin Dong looked at a figure to his front, as surprise flashed across his face. Clearly, he had also recognized Liu Tong. Brat, you truly have great ability. Liu Tong's eyes were fixed onto Lin Dong while he felt exceptionally complicated in his heart. At the peak of 100 Empire Mountain back then, Lin Dong was merely a small side character in his eyes. Yet, within a short year, the latter had already grown to such an extent. Ha ha, it's all thanks to you. Lin Dong smiled faintly. This Liu Tong was once a strong person in his eyes. However, the latter was no longer anything great now. In terms of strength, he was even slightly inferior to Yuan Kang. Lin Dong, you should quickly surrender. Even Dao sect will not be able to protect you from a disaster of this level. Liu Tong cried out coldly. With just these people, you do not have the qualifications to utter such words to me. Lin Dong glanced at Liu Tong's group. These people were likely the deacons of Yuan Gate, and their strength had reached the peak of the 9 Yuan Nirvana stage. Though they were considered rather strong, it was clear that they did not pose much of a threat to the current Lin Dong. What arrogance! Liu Tong's face immediately turned somewhat red when he heard this. It was likely that he had never imagined that the person who was once a small fry in his eyes would actually slight him to such an extent. Capture him! A fierce glint flashed within Liu Tong's eyes, before he cried out in a deep voice. Swoosh! The several Yuan Gate deacons by his side quickly rushed out after Liu Tong's word sounded. Vast and mighty Yuan power surged as they grabbed at Lin Dong. Swish! However, Ying Xiaoxiao, Wang Yang and the others at Lin Dong's side intervened when these people attacked. Having already taken half a step into the profound life stage, their strength was clearly greater than these Yuan Gate deacons. Hence, the rushing Yuan power was easily blocked by them. Liu Tong's expression could not help but become a little ugly when he saw this scene. However, just as he was about to join the fight, he suddenly saw Lin Dong's figure rushing over in a ghost-like manner. After which, a cold laughter was transmitted into his ear. I have said that the current you does not have the qualifications to utter such words to me. By the time the voice sounded, Lin Dong's figure had already appeared in front of Liu Tong. The latter's eyes turned cold when he saw this. His palm furiously swatted out with majestic Yuan power. Lin Dong did not show any signs of dodging when faced with Liu Tong's powerful palm strike. Green light appeared on the skin of his arm, and a dragon tattoo was faintly discernible. Bang! A loud sound appeared as the fist and palm collided. Ripples spread while Liu Tong's body shot back in a miserable fashion. Shock was revealed in his eyes as he watched the young man to his front who had not budged at all. This person, who was once a small fry in his eyes, had now already surpassed him. Go? Lin Dong did not have any intention of getting entangled with Liu Tong after forcing him back with a punch. He waved his hand and intended to retreat. Brat, where do you think you are going? Obediently come back with this old man and atone for your crimes. However, an elderly figure suddenly shot out from the extremely heated battleground in the sky while Lin Dong was pulling back. The former clenched his large hand, as majestic Yuan power turned into a gigantic 100 feet large hand that sealed off all of Lin Dong's retreat paths. Clearly, an advanced profound life stage expert had managed to free himself and was beginning to attack Lin Dong. Lin Dong's expression was grave as he looked at the large hand grabbing towards him, and his expression sunk. Just as he was about to use all his strength to resist, his heart suddenly shook. He hurriedly turned his head only to see a ray of light suddenly shoot over from the distant sky. At the same time, a proud and hearty laughter reverberated across the sky above unique Devil City. Ha ha, where has this old thing come from? You will need to ask Grandpa Martin for permission if you wish to attack Lin Dong. The hearty laughter was mixed with a wild and violent energy. As it swiftly spread, it thundered across the sky above unique Devil City, drawing countless gazes over. Under the attention of those numerous stunned gazes, two rays of light rushed over from the distant horizon at lightning speed, appearing in the sky within a couple of flashes. Bang! When the rays of light arrived, one of them suddenly threw a palm forward. Immediately, monstrous purplish-black energy unfurled. It appeared like a storm as it ruthlessly smashed onto the large Yuan power palm that was swatting towards Lin Dong. Bang bang bang. The two majestic attacks brazenly collided, and a loud noise resounded. Subsequently, everyone was stunned to see that the large Yuan power palm formed by the advanced profound life stage expert from Yuan Gate had swiftly melted under the erosion of the purplish-black energy. Who is it? You actually dare to hinder my Yuan Gate? A grey-cloaked old man flashed and appeared in the sky after having his attack blocked. His expression was quite ugly as he looked at the collapsed large palm. After which, his dark and stern eyes looked towards the two lights that had arrived and he cried out. In the sky, the lights dissipated. Soon after, they turned into two figures that appeared beside Lin Dong. One of was tall and strong like a metal tower. His skin looked as if it had been cast from black metal, and when sunlight shone on it, it actually reflected a golden luster. An aura of toughness and valiance that could not be described by words rippled from his body. Beside the metal tower-like figure was a tall and straight man clothed in green. His body appeared exceptionally slim when compared to the rough large man. Moreover, the most surprising thing was his devilish handsome face. His appearance would cause even some ladies to feel jealous. The size of these two figures differed too greatly, causing one's gaze to strongly feel under attack when viewed from a distance. With such appearances, who else could they be other than Little Martin and Little Flame? Big brother, it seems that we have arrived a little late. Originally, we thought of heading into the unique devil region to look for you. Little Flame scratched his head as he smiled in a simple and honest manner towards Lin Dong. TSK, what a strong lineup. You really know how to cause trouble. I have also heard about what happened in unique devil region. Not bad at all. Little Martin ignored that grey-clothed old man after appearing. All he did was turn his head and look at Lin Dong as he smilingly teased. After which, he paused before asking, "You all right?" Lin Dong gazed at these two people before him, before smiling and shaking his head. He could sense that their tensed bodies had greatly relaxed after seeing that he was fine. A wider grin was involuntarily revealed from the corners of his mouth as warmth flowed within his heart. Who are they? Ying Xiaoxiao looked at these two individuals who had suddenly appeared behind Lin Dong. She frowned slightly and inquired. She had never met Little Martin and Little Flame. They are Lin Jiao and Lin Yang, Lin Dong's sworn brothers. Back then, all of them had come to Dao sect together. However, they went out to train not long after Lin Dong entered the Dao sect, Ying Huan explained. She was clearly a little familiar with the Little Martin duo. After all, they had fought alongside each other at Demon Sound Mountain. Oh! Ying Xiaoxiao was somewhat astonished. Soon after, her eyes carefully swept over the two of them and turned a little grave. She could sense a rich dangerous feeling from the simple and honest-looking Little Flame with a metal tower-like body. It felt as though an extremely ferocious to the maximum character was hidden under that simple and honest smiling face. This kind of ferocity was similar to when Lin Dong went insane. It was really the case where one became like those within one's close proximity. Ying Xiaoxiao paid a little more attention to Little Martin because of his devilish handsome face. Quickly after, her originally grave face became even more serious. This was because she discovered that she was actually unable to sense even the slightest feeling of danger from Little Martin's body. Normally speaking, there were only two types of people who would give her such a feeling. The first was a person who was of no threat, while the second was when the other party's strength surpassed her own too greatly, causing her to be unable to sense it. If Little Martin had not intervened earlier, Ying Xiaoxiao might still believe that he was of the former group. Clearly, however, being able to easily scatter the attack of an advanced profound life stage expert meant that it was impossible for him to be in this category. Hence, there was only one answer. Little Martin's strength was already so strong that she was unable to ascertain it. Unfathomable. This was Ying Xiaoxiao's evaluation of Little Martin on their first meeting. She was extremely astonished that Lin Dong was able to befriend such a person. Little Miss Memory is very good. Little Martin suddenly turned his head and smilingly said to Ying Huan while the two sisters were chatting. Little Martin clearly had an extremely deep impression of Ying Huan. The former's reincarnator status was something that even Little Martin was fairly afraid of. He was aware that if Ying Huan was to awaken in the future, she would definitely be a peak-level expert in this world. However, from the looks of the situation now, this lady seemed to have some feelings for Lin Dong. This was a rather good thing. Ying Huan curled her mouth and grinned at Little Martin, appearing exceptionally serene and elegant. Eh? Little Martin's eyes turned away from Ying Huan and suddenly paused on young lady beside her. He was immediately startled. Why is this little lass here? Qingtan. Little Flame was also stunned as he stared in a daze at the young lady. Qingtan felt completely lost when she saw their gazes. She was at a complete loss. From their current appearance, it seemed that they were extremely familiar with her. Qingtan, do you still remember Little Flame? Lin Dong chuckled. He patted Little Flame's arm and grinned at Qingtan. Little Flame? Qingtan blinked her eyes blankly. It was a long while later before her eyes suddenly widened. They were filled with disbelief as they gazed at the metal tower-like man, while her small hand covered her mouth. Little Flame? When Lin Dong and Little Flame left the Great Yang Empire, the latter was still unable to transform. Hence, Qingtan's knowledge of him had remained at the period where he was still a fire python tiger. Now, that large tiger, which had carried her on its back as they ran around the town, had changed and become so fierce-looking. No way. You are really Little Flame? How did you become like this? The young lady's shock merely continued for a moment, before she pounced over with great curiosity. Her small hands continuously felt Little Flame's metal-like skin as she chirped unceasingly. Little Flame watched the little bird-like young lady at his side. A grin appeared on his simple and honest face. His pair of eyes, which faintly flickered with ferocity, revealed an extremely rare gentleness. He still clearly remembered those memories from back then. How rude, you should call him Big Brother Lin Yang in future. Lin Dong smiled and patted Qingtan's head. After which, he pointed at little Martin and said, "This fellow has actually also seen you for a couple of years. However, he hid within my body in the past, and you are unaware of him." "Ah, he is now called Lin Jiao." Qingtan nodded when she heard Lin Dong's words. She curiously looked at little Martin before softly uttering to Lin Dong, "This big brother Lin Jiao is really pretty." Although Qingtan's voice was soft, it still reached little Martin's ears. Immediately, an embarrassed expression appeared on his handsome face. Lin Dong could not help but laugh when he saw that little Martin, whose skin was usually thicker than his own, would actually feel embarrassed. "Who exactly are you, sir?" "Lin Dong is someone whom our Yuan Gate sect master has ordered to be invited back to Yuan Gate. I hope that you will not intervene. Otherwise, you might end up inviting trouble for yourself." The face of the grey-clothed man in the sky involuntarily appeared a little ugly when he saw that the little Martin duo had actually ignored him after appearing. Soon after, he shouted with a cold voice, "What a noisy old fellow!" Little Martin finally turned his head over at this moment. A mocking smile formed on his handsome face as he laughed. "Didn't he simply kill some Yuan Gate disciples of yours? Do you need to be so flustered and exasperated?" The eyes of that grey-clothed old man's eyes became dark and cold when he heard these words. He venomously said, "This little bastard has killed 540 of our Yuan Gate disciples. His murderous desire is too great. Our Yuan Gate has invited him back for his own good. We will kindly remove his murderous aura in order for his future to remain bright. I do not care what relationship you have with him, but I will advise you to simply stand idly by the side and watch. Else, you will have to pay a price you cannot afford." "Is that so?" Little Martin lifted his head when he heard this, as a brilliant smile surfaced on his handsome face. Soon after, that brilliant smile became a little malicious. He extended his slender right hand, as purplish-black flame rose and gathered on it. A bone-chilling voice that contained rich killing intent resounded. "You insensible old dog. Do you think you have the qualifications to teach my brother a lesson?" Little Martin stood in the air as purplish-black flames danced on his palm. The light from the fire reflected on his handsome face. Faintly, there was a peculiar cruelness rising in the air that caused one to feel a chill in one's heart. At this time, countless people within Unique Devil City were gawking due to little Martin's words, before secretly feeling speechless. Where exactly had this person came from? Even Yuan Gate did not enter his eyes. They are undoubtedly brothers. Ying Xiao and the rest also looked at each other. This little Martin's temper was seemingly even more peculiar than Lin Dong's, and the way he talked even more vicious, completely not leaving any face for the other party. "You courting death?" In the sky, the gaze of the old man dressed in grey turned completely gloomy and cold as the skin on his face twitched. It was obvious that extreme fury had erupted in his heart due to little Martin's rude words. "Since you're together with that brat, I shall also capture you along with him," the grey-robed old man said malevolently. "With the likes of yourself?" Little Martin said with a grin. As he stood with both hands behind his back, his smile contained unconcealable contempt. His actions were obviously insolent to the extreme. However, there was also a faint hint of pride and elegance. That attitude, accompanied with his handsome appearance, attracted the extraordinary sparkle in the eyes of quite a few ladies within the city. "Let me see how long you can continue being so sharp-tongued." The grey-robed old man's face had turned steely green, before his figure suddenly exploded forth. Boundless and vigorous Yuan power surged out, immediately transforming into a Yuan power mountain peak, which he pressed down on little Martin. Snort. Upon seeing this, the simple expression on Little Flame's face disappeared at an astonishing speed. In the next moment, a ruthless and tyrannical aura that caused one's heart to grow cold erupted on his face. In the blink of an eye, the simple and honest big guy had turned into an Azura-killing god. Let me. However, Little Flame did not take action, as Little Martin gestured to him with his hands. He proceeded to extend the palm that was covered in purplish black flames out, before giving a grab at the gigantic Yuan Power Mountain that was whizzing towards him from a distance. Boom! Following the grab by Little Martin, the space surrounding the Yuan Power Mountain peak instantly started to warp and distort, as if there was a giant invisible hand pinching the space till it shattered. Break! A low voice suddenly rang out from Little Martin's mouth, as the warping of the space instantly reached its maximum. As for the Yuan Power Mountain peak, it had unexpectedly been directly shattered by this attack. Boundless Yuan power poured from the sky in torrents, and the face of the grey-robed old man gradually started to turn dark and grim. This move by Little Martin was enough to expose his powerful strength. After all, if it was the grey-robed old man, he believed that he was unable to reach the level where he could casually warp space. Your strength has slightly recovered again. Lin Dong watched this scene and faintly smiled. Previously, on Demonic Sound Mountain, Little Martin's strength had yet to reach this level. Evidently, during this period of time, Little Martin had once again regained quite a bit of his strength. With second brother's current strength, he should not have any opponents in the profound life stage. Little Flame smiled and said towards Lin Dong. Lin Dong nodded his head. From the looks of things, Little Martin's current strength should be at the perfect profound life stage. Exactly how strong was this fellow in his heyday? With just that little bit of ability, you still dare to hoot in front of Grandpa Martin? In the sky, Little Martin had shattered the gigantic peak with a single hand. After which, a cold smile appeared on his handsome face. In the next instant, the hand burning with purplish black flames suddenly turned towards the grey-robed old man and made a downward grabbing motion. Bang! Following his grab, the space surrounding the grey-robed old man warped and distorted again. In addition, within the warping space, strands of purplish black flames started to appear. With an astonishing speed, it swept towards the grey-robed old man. This unforeseen event caused the grey-robed old man to turn pale in fright. He immediately waved his sleeve as boundless Yuan power akin to a flood surged out in an attempt to defend against the purplish black flames that were sweeping towards him. Sizzle. When the boundless Yuan power flood and the purplish black flames collided, countless sizzling sounds rang out. The grey-robed old man looked with some alarm and fright as his Yuan power was unexpectedly being burned by the purplish flames, and rapidly disappeared. Swish! An icy smile flashed past Little Martin's face, before he flicked his finger. Those purplish black flames transformed into a fire dragon, pierced through the grey-robed old man's Yuan power defense, and viciously smashed into his body. Bang! A low and deep sound echoed in the sky as the mournful and miserable cry of the grey-robed old man followed suit. His figure shot backwards in an extremely miserable state. The skin on his body had turned scarlet red, and there was a trace of blood at the corner of his mouth. His aura was weak, and it was obvious that he had suffered pretty serious injuries. When the gazes from the entire area saw the miserable state of the grey-robed old man, they could not help but gasp. This was an expert at the advanced profound life stage. Yet, he could only endure for a moment at the hands of that handsome youth. So powerful, where exactly is that person from? At a pavilion within the city, Ling Qingzhu gravely watched the fight that was occurring in the distant sky, before asking with a little doubt. From his outer appearance, this person seems to be around your age, however that is absolutely not his true age. His strength might have already reached the perfect profound life stage. Beside Ling Qingzhu was a beautiful woman who was similarly looking gravely at the sky. She was the Nine Heavens Supreme Purity Palace Group leader, and her strength was also at the advanced profound life stage. That's Big Brother Lin Jiao, Big Brother Lin Dong's sworn brother. Su Ru, who was standing beside them, interrupted. Oh. Ling Qingzhu's and the beautiful woman's expression changed slightly as they looked toward Su Ru. Big brother Lin Dong and his two other brothers came from the Great Yang Empire. Big brother Lin Jiao is normally rather fierce. When we first met during the 100 Empire War, he intended to chase us away. However, only after Big brother Lin Dong opened his mouth did they allow us to follow them, Zuru replied with a smile. However, Big brother Lin Jiao is a very good person, he would absolutely not oppose Lin Dong on any matter he has decided on. Ling Qingzhu and the beautiful woman exchanged a look. Soon after, Ling Qingzhu tilted her head and looked at the figure of Lin Dong in the distant sky with a complicated expression within her eyes. Following their deepening interactions, there were more and more things that happened to the latter had made her feel astonishment. For example, the handsome youth whose strength was at the perfect profound life stage. In fact, if he were to be placed within the entire Eastern Xian region, he would be ranked at the front. And that youth was actually his sworn brother. Furthermore, from Suru's words, it was not hard for her to know that among the three brothers, Lin Dong was the leader. The capability to make someone whose strength far surpassed oneself to admit this kind of leadership was not easy. Boom! In the sky, overbearing fluctuations erupted from the distance, as numerous figures shot backwards. They were Qi Lei, Shadong, and the rest who were battling previously. Liu Yu? Upon seeing the grey-robed old man in an extremely miserable state, the faces of the 5 people from Yuan Gate changed. This fellow is extremely strong. I have no idea where he appeared from. The grey-robed old man called Liu Yu said as he looked at little Martin with an extremely ugly expression. The brows of Shadong and the other 4 faintly wrinkled. Their eyes were somewhat grim as they gazed at little Martin's figure. Moments later, Shadong came forward and said in a deep voice, "This friend. All of you, go ahead and attack together." Just as his words appeared, little Martin's indifferent laugh came ringing over. "You?" Upon hearing this, Shadong was instantly enraged. From the looks of it, words would only be wasted. The person standing before them had already declared his intention of opposing them. "Good, let me see exactly how capable you are today. To actually dare utter such blasphemy in this place." Shadong waved his sleeve and spoke in a sinister voice. Nearby, upon seeing this scene, Qi Lei, Chen Zhen, and the 2 others faintly gawked, before looking at little Martin again. They clearly did not know why he would help them. "Who is he?" Qi Lei asked doubtfully. "It seems that is Lin Dong's friend." Chen Zhen replied doubtfully. He had seen little Martin previously. However, little Martin's strength then was obviously far from how terrifying it was now. Upon hearing his words, Qi Lei and the other 2 were startled. They had obviously never imagined that Lin Dong would actually know such a powerful expert. "Leave them to me." In the sky, little Martin shot a look at Qi Lei and the other 3 before slowly walking forward. Following his footsteps, purplish-black flames suddenly swept out from behind his body. If seen from the distance, it looked as if a demonic god was descending. "Attack together, if not, you will not have another chance." As the purplish-black flames blotted the skies with their fluctuations, a chilling smile slowly appeared on little Martin's handsome face. After saying those words, an unconcealable tyrannical aura pervaded the air. This video will end here.